All right, today we're diving deep into a really special antibiotic. This isn't just any old drug. It's a precision weapon, one that's been specifically engineered to take down one of the toughest superbugs out there. So let's start with the question that's on the mind of every doctor and scientist in the field. What do you do when the bacteria you're fighting have learned to ignore your best weapons? What's plan B? To really get why this one drug is such a big deal, we have to talk about the villain of our story. And that villain has a name. MRSA.
Now, MRSA is not your average bacteria. I want you to think of it like a medieval fortress. Over time, it's built up these incredible defenses, these thick walls that make it resistant to a whole bunch of the antibiotics we've been using for decades. That makes it a huge threat, both in and out of the hospital.
But, this is a constant arms race. As the bugs evolve, so do we. And that's where our hero comes in. Say hello to Ceftaroline, a so-called fifth-generation antibiotic from a big family of drugs called the cephalosporins.
And this, right here, is what makes it so special. All of its older cousins, the other drugs in its family, totally useless against MRSA. Ceftaroline is the only one in its entire class that can breach that fortress. It's an absolute game changer.
So how in the world does it pull this off? What's its secret weapon? Well, the answer is pretty fascinating. It all comes down to how it gets around MRSA's #1 defense mechanism. Okay, so MRSA's superpower is this weird, unique shield called PBP2A. You can think of it like a special, complex lock on the bacteria's wall. Most antibiotics just don't have the right key. They come up to the lock, they jiggle it a bit, but they just bounce right off. They can't get in. But Ceftaroline is basically a master locksmith. Its unique molecular shape is the perfect key. It doesn't just try to open the lock. It binds directly to the lock itself, jamming the whole mechanism and making that PB2A shield totally useless. And once that shield is down, the bacteria's wall just falls apart. Game over for the superbug. Now, here's the thing. When you have a weapon this powerful, you've got to be smart about how you use it. We have a huge responsibility to make sure this drug stays effective for as long as humanly possible.
For most of the infections it's approved for, the plan is pretty straightforward. You get a 600 milligram dose through an IV once every 12 hours. Simple enough.
But what about really tough cases? Well, for those, doctors can pull out a cool trick. Instead of a quick IV push, they give the drug slowly, over 2 or even 3 hours. It's called an extended infusion, and it's a clever way to keep the drug level in the blood above the bug-killing zone for a longer period of time, really maximizing its punch. But, and this is a big but, Ceftaroline is definitely not a one-size-fits-all kind of drug. Your body gets rid of it through the kidneys, and that means the dose has to be dialed in perfectly based on how well a person's kidneys are working. And what you're seeing in this chart is exactly that. As kidney function goes down, something we measure with a value called creatinine clearance, the dose of Ceftaroline gets cut back, step by step. This is absolutely crucial, because if you don't do this, the drug can build up to dangerous levels in the body and cause some really serious problems. So, all of this leads to a pretty logical question, right? If this drug is such a powerful MRSA killer, why aren't doctors just using it for every single tough infection that comes through the door? Well, it turns out its official approved uses are surprisingly specific. It's really just for complicated skin infections and for pneumonia that you catch out in the community, not the kind you get inside a hospital. And there are a few really smart, strategic reasons for this. For one, the initial studies just didn't test it on those super severe hospital-acquired pneumonias. Plus, it's a specialist. It doesn't work on other nasty hospital bugs like Pseudomonas. But honestly, the biggest reason is a deliberate choice to protect it. We are trying to preserve this amazing tool, saving it for the exact fight it was designed to win. And that idea really gets at a much, much bigger concept, this critical mission of protecting our most precious medicines so they're still around for our kids and grandkids. This whole philosophy is called antibiotic stewardship, and it's not just a nice idea, it's a global, coordinated strategy. It's basically the rulebook for how to use our antibiotics in the smartest way possible, so we can win the fight today without creating even scarier superbugs tomorrow. So for a drug like Ceftaroline, the rules are simple, but they are strict. First, you restrict it. This is not your go-to drug for a simple infection. Second, you reserve it. You save it for those confirmed, really difficult MRSA cases where other drugs have failed. It's about being disciplined and making sure this last line of defense stays strong for years to come.
Which leaves us with one final and really important thought. This battle against superbugs, it's a constant, relentless race. And as these bacteria keep evolving and getting smarter, maybe our biggest challenge isn't just inventing new weapons, but being wise enough to protect the incredible ones we already have.